Tesla was like a cult. Even the whistleblower says he was a disciple of Elon Musk. He thought Elon Musk was the greatest businessman in the history of mankind. We've seen the training materials of workers where it says, how can we incorporate Elon's DNA in our daily work? The company is saying everybody should be like Elon Musk. I mean, if you have, like you say, $300 billion and 14 children and all the means in the world, why do you need a solace, and why is that video gaming? If Trump says, all system go on investigations, if you would go after Elon Musk the way he goes after so-called illegals, who knows what's going to happen.
Sönke Iwersen, welcome to PoliticsJOE.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. We're here to talk about the book just over your right shoulder there, The Tesla Files, written by yourself and by Michael Vervoerden. For anyone who isn't familiar with your work, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm head of the investigative department at Handelsblatt, which is like the German Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, newspaper for business.
And you've written this book about, obviously, Tesla, Elon Musk, but mainly about Tesla. You've had interactions with a whistleblower at the company. But before we get into everything to do with the book itself, there's been a lot that's happened in the life of the world's richest man since publication. Just in terms of where we are now in the lifespan of Elon Musk, where we've had him joining Doge, starting Doge, kind of deregulating the American economy, the American civil state, and then subsequently leaving after his fights with Donald Trump. Do you think, having investigated Tesla and to a lesser extent things like the Boring Company and such, could you see an inevitability in how this all played out?
Well, I think a lot of people bet on those two, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, not being able to be in the same room together for a very long time because they both consider themselves, in their words, alpha males. And each of them kind of dislikes the other one. Elon Musk thinks Donald Trump is not very bright, and Donald Trump doesn't like the whole electric vehicle thing. And Elon Musk is awkward on camera, I would say, whereas Donald Trump seems to be just a natural camera friendly guy. And yeah, so you could say it had to come to this, but there's no way of saying what will come next. It's just very, very strange at the moment.
For anyone who isn't familiar with the findings in the Tesla files, how did it all come about for you?
It was a bit of sheer luck. To be honest, the guy calls me and says he's an employee or former employee of Tesla, and he's got 100 gigabytes worth. Well, he didn't mention that the number at that time. That's what it turned out to be. And he's saying, well, not only does he have all this confidential data that everybody at Tesla can access this confidential data. There's no security restrictions inside Tesla at all. Anybody could see anybody's wage, social security number, customer data. That's one reason for termination, medical information. But it goes deeper. Then we find thousands and thousands of complaints on the autopilot software, which is the core. Elon Musk says the autopilot is deciding, the functional autopilot is deciding whether Tesla is worth a lot of money, and in this case, $1 trillion or zero. That's his words. And then we find thousands of complaints of customers saying, my car stopped by itself, my car accelerated by itself, I drove my child to school, and on the schoolyard it suddenly veered forward, or I was in a tunnel and it stopped. Widows who can't explain why their husbands burned to death in the Tesla when the road was straight and the weather was clear, there was no rain, there was hardly any traffic. For some reason, the car just crashed into a tree, and the husband burned to death. And they couldn't get answers from Tesla either because Tesla claimed there was no data, whereas Elon Musk says the data is everything in his cars, and these cars collect every single second. They collect data because the data is what makes them smarter. Like they collect the data, send it to what Tesla inside, they call it mothership. And then the fleet learns, like from every mistake. That's the theory. The car learns. But here's a fatal mistake, a mortal mistake. And Tesla says there's no data. And the widows were very unhappy with that, naturally. But they haven't found closure. There's no answer.
Just in terms of the whistleblower himself, you mentioned in the book how there was pressure put on, how the company itself kind of in its own ways was threatening the whistleblower. I believe you yourself and your company have kind of experienced some pushback from Tesla as well. First of all, why do you think a company the scale and size of Tesla has such a massive oversight in how it manages its own data? And why do you think they have such a hard response to people kind of exposing this in a bid to kind of make the company better, maybe?
It really doesn't make any sense. We have seen in those 23,000 files that we got from the whistleblower how they claim to be handling data, which is very carefully, very responsibly. Tesla says, we here at Tesla work on a need-to-know basis, like the military. Like you only get to see the data that you need to do your work, which makes a lot of sense. And also, there's so many enemies out there who want to know what we know. And the enemies, he says, the politicians, the oil companies, the other car manufacturers, the media is also in his reading part of the enemy list. So it makes no sense in that regard. It makes no sense to have, no oversight at all over the data. I mean, the whistleblower was a service technician in Norway, and he could access the bills, the invoices of Elon Musk's bodyguards. He could also access the status report on the Cybertruck at the point when the Cybertruck was still in preparation, that when it wasn't out there, and Elon Musk said it's the greatest product in the world, and we found the status report said all kinds of, mostly everything was wrong about it and was needed to be worked on. So one explanation would be speed, because Elon Musk hates nothing more than being slowed down. He wants everything to work at a ultra fast pace. This ultra hardcore is also paired with ultra fast pace. And of course, if everybody can access everything, it speeds up things. On the other hand, if you have an employee who wants to do you bad and takes the status report of the Cybertruck and sells it to Ford or Volkswagen, that would be a catastrophe. So it's really unclear. What we do know now that they've changed this, the handling of the data. It's more secure now that we're reporting it.
Just in as well with the scoop itself led to you having more access through employees of Tesla or consumers of Tesla products. And another thing that came up was kind of the workplace culture at Tesla. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was, the scoop was massive, but for us, and it also, the real benefit that we still enjoy now every day is the access, because Tesla was like a cult. Everybody at Tesla, even the whistleblower says he was a disciple of Elon Musk. He thought Elon Musk was the greatest businessman in the history of mankind, and Tesla was the best company in the world, and that's why he went there. He's from Poland. He flew all the way to Norway to get a job there, which paid less than his previous job. And that story, after we published his story, a lot of people came forward and said, that's my story too. I believed in Elon Musk. I believed in Tesla, and I was thoroughly disappointed. Why haven't they spoken up? Because the culture of fear, the culture of cults is one thing, and the fear that you are threatened. If you speak up, if you tell anybody else what this company is doing here, you will be punished. So when we published the first article, and then many more, and people saw, okay, these Handelsblatt guys, obviously they're on the inside, they are talking to my colleagues, and it can't be so bad, it can't be so dangerous. Let me talk to them as well. Some people even came forward and said, I still like to work here, and although this is true, you should also know this or that. We have people now who will tape. I mean, there's maybe every couple of months there's a staff meeting inside the Gigafactory in Germany, which is the only factory in Europe. So all the cars here in London on the street, they're manufactured over there in Germany. And people will put on their iPhones and tape the whole thing. And then in the evening, we have the recordings. And that's how we know that, for example, last September, the boss of Tesla Germany stood in front of his people and said, it's crazy how many of you are sick. And the numbers were so high that we had to do something. So Eric, my colleague, the HR guy, we called HR, and they gave us 30 files of people who were suspiciously sick, and we visited them at home. So imagine that the boss of Tesla Germany and the HR boss drive to somebody's flat, knock on the door and say, hello, how are you doing? So that, and then that went the next step. They said, people receive letters in the mail. You are sick again, and we don't believe that you are sick, so we will not pay you anymore. And we can resolve this matter. Please tell your doctor to tell him, there's a patient doctor confidentially, and please tell him to stop that, so we can talk to him, and then we can see what's wrong with you. And by the way, you were also sick in this month and that week, and we don't think that you were really sick, so you actually owe us £5,000. Please pay it in the next 14 days.
Labor. Oh my God.
That's the culture. People at Tesla were also accused, and we have this on tape or in writing. So nothing we report is somebody says, I heard this or that. It's all facts. That's why, presumably, Tesla never tried to sue us, although threatening at the very beginning. But so what I was going to say is that, again, in a staff meeting, the guy says, and to understand that how brazen they are, the meeting starts, the guy says, the Tesla Germany boss stands there, and he says, there's a lot of space here in front. Come forward. I want everybody to hear this, not just Handelsblatt. So he knows we are listening. And then he says, I'm sick and tired of buying coffee mugs. I'm sick and tired of this. You know how many coffee mugs I bought for this factory? 60,000. That means each of you, and he points in the room, each of you has 5 of my coffee mugs at home. So, and of course, I mean, that's the culture, and having this leak in 2022, and then first reporting, and it took us 6 months to write the first line, because it was a massive work to verify all that and make sure we're not duped or somebody deep faked us. But it opened this kind of access and this kind of trust that we're still working on with now.
Do you think the fact that this is, I mean, you work at a German publication, the factory's in Germany, the initial whistleblower is working in Norway. But despite all of that, do you think there's a distinctive difference in culture, in workplace culture, say, in American Tesla factories and European Tesla factories, that this could be a far deeper issue within the company, that it's just European workers are not accustomed to this kind of Americanized, overarching kind of big brother figure as their workplace manager or the company that they work for?
Yes. I think it's a difference between Europe and America, and specifically of the Silicon Valley startup culture, where your boss I mean, we've all heard the stories about Elon Musk sleeping on the factory floor. Maybe not any, although he now says he wants to get back to that. Working. I mean, we've talked to people, or other people have talked to people saying, yeah, everybody worked 18 hours, and Elon worked 22 a day. So you couldn't really say, no, I can't do this, because Elon was doing it himself. And in Germany, we have 100 years worth history of unions. So, and for somebody to come in and say, you have to work till you drop, basically, doesn't sell in Germany. And although he tried his best to stop the unions from coming in, the unions won the workers' representative lists. They are the strongest list. Although they're a bit complicated, there are 5 other lists that are very close to management. So there's a stalemate inside. And actually, right now they are already preparing for the next election inside the Tesla union, Tesla workers' representative, and it's a massive fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's a huge cultural difference, and it seems he may have miscalculated, because people are fleeing the factory. The turnover rate is 40% in Berlin, in Germany, 40%. So
every single year, right?
We only have the numbers from this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So I mean, you have to retrain 4 out of 10 people again. That's costly, and at the same time, the sales are going down. So it's a really, really tricky situation he's in right now.
What do you think it says about the kind of the personality of Elon Musk as a CEO, as a political industrial figure, if his companies operate in this haphazard way for him to kind of, I mean, we've seen him reach the heights of the White House. We've seen he's the richest man in the world. He has several other companies. We've got an insight into how one company operates. How much of it do you think is a translation of Elon Musk the person versus Elon Musk the businessman?
I'd say it's the same thing. That's one on the same thing. He's obsessed with anything he does. I mean, there's a rich history. There have been other books about his life and his the startup and his first company, then PayPal, how he would berate people. Like, he would walk through the office and at Friday night, 9 o'clock, and complain that there's only 20 people in the office and not 45 as it's in full capacity, and he's getting red head and starts screaming. He's always going full speed himself, and he expects that of everybody else. And the company itself prides itself in that. We've seen the training materials of workers where it says, how can we incorporate Elon's DNA in our daily work? So the company is saying everybody should be like Elon Musk. And he thinks that he knows everything best. Maybe he did once too. I mean, I would never dispute that he's a really, really smart guy, and a genius even. He built the first SpaceX rocket himself. I mean, when the Russians some years ago, when the Russians wouldn't sell it to him, he just said, okay, I'll build it myself. And he did. He didn't found Tesla, but he came in early, and he really had a lot of input in everything. And Tesla is Tesla because of him. But his way to solve things or approach things is that I have to do it myself. Like, he would, if there's an event, a PR event, he would go and want to do the design of the napkins himself. When he apparently became aware that we were on the inside and we had all this data, there was an email going out in last May, 2 Mays ago in 23, saying, okay, from now on, I have to approve every hiring in this company personally. Do not hire anybody without my specific okay. And then there's 100,000 people, and actually the turnover rate is equally high in other places. So that would means he would have to approve
Spending
thousands
most of the 22-hour working day approving the hires.
And how does he approve? I mean, that doesn't mean somebody comes to the office. You look him in the eye and think, okay, this might be a whistleblower, and that one not. Let's go with this guy instead of it. It's completely irrational, especially since he's got half a dozen other companies, and not at that time, but now he's also doing politics, and he's playing video games for hours and hours and hours on end. He's tweeting or he's streaming that sometimes. So, yeah, he thinks he knows best in any matter.
And what do you think then has been like the switch, right? You mentioned there that he is this innovator, rule breaker, has been at the helm of some of the largest companies in the world in the last 2 decades. And now it seems like you're seeing this kind of disorganized, bumbling egotist kind of at the helm of a couple of different things. But I wonder, having spent so much time enveloped by the inner workings of these companies, what would your prescription be of the change in Elon Musk himself?
Well, I think it's important to understand that he didn't go into politics to become a politician. He himself states the reason was like self-defense. There were many, many investigations into Tesla, into SpaceX, into, say, X for the hate speech, not cleaning up hate speech, into SpaceX for working conditions there, Tesla for the autonomous driving issues. Also, the SEC was investigating him for apparent or alleged stock manipulation because he keeps making promises and he said that there was 1 million pre-orders for the Cybertruck. There weren't. There just weren't. He says autopilot is solved. It's not solved. But whenever he makes a statement, the there's a shift in the stock price, and he thought that if Biden is followed by Kamala Harris, these investigators, and rightly so, why should they stop, that they would go on. But he didn't want them to go on. He wanted them to end. So that he says so himself. He said before the election, the boss of the SEC, Gensler, he has to go. The chief of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, was investigating him also. Lina Khan, she has to leave, or she will no longer be, she won't be there much longer, is what he tweeted. And they're both gone. And the inspector generals of several investigations against him are gone. And the staff at the NHTSA, the American authorities for car safety, have been cut drastically. And we all remember the White House lawn Tesla advertisement. So he wanted Donald Trump to win, so Donald Trump would stop with all the investigations. And that part has worked. Yes, I guess he didn't expect Donald Trump to take all his money and then say, Elon,
thank you.
Now you can go. Or he didn't expect Donald Trump to tell him, okay, with those stuff, let's cut the deficit by, what is it, 2 trillion, and then it became 1 trillion. And then the big, beautiful bill came out, which was going to raise the deficit by 3 billion, I think, a trillion. So he felt betrayed by that, because I think he's been talking about this a long time, the deficit. It's really something that's nagging him, apparently. At least he says so. And then when his partner, who he paid for to win, is, cutting off his legs under him, he felt betrayed. And when he said so, Donald Trump did what he always does. He threw him under the bus. And that's where we are now. And it's really a double catastrophe for him. Now he's lost face, and his company his biggest company, Tesla, is in really bad shape because all the political stuff he's done, I mean, supporting all the right-wing people all across Europe, advocating for Tony Robinson here, the neo-Nazi, to be released from jail, accusing or attacking German politicians, French politicians, all that, calling for a revolution right here. That has fallen back on him, and people have stopped buying their cars. I spoke to somebody 2 weeks ago who said, a very rich American who said he bought a Cybertruck and he loved the car, but he sold it. And I said, why did you sell it? He said, because people kept spitting on it. Even if you're still a fan of Elon Musk and think his products are the best, you don't want to be the target of all the anger directed at Elon Musk. I mean, you don't want to come out of your, nice restaurant, have a nice evening, and then you have to scrape off the spit of somebody who doesn't like Elon Musk. So that's a problem. Sales are dropping, and now he says he's going back to, sleep on the factory floor. At the same time, he says, I'm going to found a new party.
Yeah.
That's going to take some time too, obviously. So I don't know how he's going to square that.
I guess there's a mix there between the getting a taste for the politics, but also I think hubris is a big theme of it, right?
Yes.
He was almost baited into supporting Trump in the first place with this kind of the stick of subsidies being pulled. Had he not become partisan in some way, you then have Trump's most recent communications have all been about kind of pulling funding from whether it's SpaceX or whether it's Tesla. In terms of how the Washington dynamic is now, particularly, and you look at one of the key themes in the book is about the kind of the data sharing of the cars themselves and the malfunctions in the cars, and how governments across the world are kind of having impossible tasks ahead of them to try and get to the bottom of how crashes happen, how malfunctions happen, how deaths are happening with these cars. And I wonder, is there kind of like a ticking time bomb for the man at the helm of that company if there's kind of this withholding happening whilst you've lost favor with the person that's probably been protecting you for the last couple of years?
Yeah, if Trump says, all system go on investigations, if you would go after Elon Musk the way he goes after so-called illegals, who knows what's going to happen? We have these cases in Germany where widows say, and the German police says, we can't get the data. Tesla says there is no data. And who am I as a German policeman to try to get the data out of some data center in Texas or California? If he doesn't give it to us, we're not getting it. That's a different story in the US. If you send the FBI or the SEC into the Tesla headquarters or wherever the data center is and say, we're going to copy everything now, that would be a whole different ballgame. So it's hard to see. Nobody really knows. And maybe, I just heard somebody else say the other day, it's there's a lot of artificial intelligence in these cars. And we all know when we use ChatGPT or another bot about the hallucinations. Sometimes it will tell you, I don't know, you can Google ChatGPT yourself and it'll tell you all kinds of strange stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not true. And if that, I'm not sure, but if that's a theme here, but if the crashes are, result of hallucinations, ChatGPT says, or OpenAI says, they don't understand how they themselves, they don't understand why these hallucinations are happening. And what can we do if the same applies to cars that are racing at 60 miles per hour across the street in our streets? If if the malfunction then is, mistaking a pedestrian for just a stone or whatever the case may be, it's Elon Musk, last week on the weekend, somebody from the car industry said, you know what customers should say? They should ask to be paid by Tesla, because effectively they are the beta testers. They are the software testers for the cars. You're driving the car, every driven kilometer is going into the data centers and you're learning from it. But the only one profiting is Elon Musk and the Tesla shareholders. But it goes deeper than that. If you're on the street as a pedestrian or on a bicycle or so, effectively you're also in this test center of Elon Musk, trying to perfect the autopilot. And to him, each accident is a stepstone on the perfect autopilot. But to you, it may be the last thing you ever experience.
And that aspect of it as well, kind of combining the whole withdrawal of or refusal to share data in accidents and things like this, but also 9 times out of 10 when you hear about a Tesla, it's about a malfunction of some sort, or how just in terms of the operations of the vehicles, or how they're involved in crashes, or they blow up, or whatever it might be. How, when you've got factories in Germany or you've got factories in the States that are employing tens of thousands of people, producing a car that's being manufactured on the perceived ideal of one man of what a car should look like. It's more of a computer than a car in his mind, right?
Yes.
And so what you've just described there is a dangerous object that somehow is still able to use public highways in Europe and in America. Do you think there's kind of a gun almost being held to the heads of governments across the world, where we're employing X amount of people, we're experiencing all this innovation, or we're trying to innovate in this way and that way, and you are you're withdrawing yourself from sharing with governments and with law enforcement the kind of transparency that should be required from any car company or any company that uses public infrastructure. Is there a danger that someone like Elon Musk is holding countries to ransom with projects like this, whether it's SpaceX or Tesla or whatever?
I think it's a bit darker. He doesn't say that he doesn't want to share. He says specifically he will always share critical data. Everything else would be dangerous. That's his own words. And well, remember the Cybertruck that blew up in front of Trump Hotel on New Year's Eve in Las Vegas, I believe. Within minutes, Tesla was able to track all the data. They were also able to open the car remotely, which is a surprise maybe to many people. He could say exactly what happened at what millisecond. So when it suits him, he will share the data. And I'm not saying that the autopilot is generally unsafe. I don't think anybody's saying that. I'm just saying that there are mistakes, and in the case of mistakes, when there's suspicion of the victims or their relatives, the widows in general, there have been cases where Tesla is just refusing or is claiming there is no data. There was there's a court case going on in the US right now where the people, somebody was run over by a Tesla in that case, and they claim that Tesla actually deleted data and manipulated data. There's another case in Belgium where Tesla was also reprimanded by the judge for blocking at every turn. They were blocking. First they said the data wasn't there, then they said the data was overwritten, then they said different levels. Then neutral expert was conducting a test with that specific vehicle because the driver said, I don't want to drive this Tesla anymore. I want my money back. And Tesla said, no, this car is fine. So the judge appointed an expert and he started a test drive. And he broke off the test drive saying, and that's another quote, "It was too dangerous for me as a test driver and for everybody around me. So I'm not going to proceed with this." And then Tesla lost the case. So I don't think, Tesla is not openly saying, we're not sharing the data. If you make us share, we will just pick up and build the factory somewhere else. It's a bit more sinister. It's lower approach.
Yeah. In terms of the empire that Musk is trying to build with, whether it's Tesla, whether it's Neuralink as well, we could talk for hours, I think, about something like that. Just like the ethical questions, the moral questions, even how it's been tested so far. Maybe another book in the offing for that.
Maybe.
All of these projects that the man has going on, you mix it with his personal life. I mean, outside of the gaming and whatever it might be, you've got this army of children that the guy is building slowly. His most recent child, isn't most recent or the one before, it's called Romulus.
Yes.
What do you think that says about someone like this, that's kind of, you see, whether it's tweets or whether it's the way the companies are operated, that there's this kind of lust for power, control, influence? And how does that contrast with the personal life of the guy?
Well, you're right. It's a big contrast to have one child after another, but no time at all to care. I mean, any wife or ex-wife will tell you that once the phase of courtship is over, I mean, he's a great courtshipper, apparently. I mean, he's got all the means to do so also. But once that is over, at any like family occasion, he will be the one sitting in the corner, hunched over his iPhone, playing, instead of celebrating a birthday of his brother or any relative. He's apparently spending very, very, very little time with his children. All his wives have said, have complained about constant fighting, constant negligence also. One wife, I'm not sure, was it Justine Wilson? I think she said, "I told him again and again, I'm your wife, I'm not your employee." And his reply was, if you were my employee, I would have fired you. I think the same one, I believe, one of them at least, I think the first one said, on the day of the wedding, on the court, on the dancing floor, when they were dancing, he leaned over and told her, "I'm the alpha in this relationship." On the wedding. So there's that. And then there's his often stated, and he repeats this now and again, about it being the responsibility of every man and every woman to have as many children as possible. I don't really know. And he extends that to basically every woman. I mean, he famously told Taylor Swift he would give her a child if she was open to that. He had, when there was an employee, I think at SpaceX, who wanted a child but no husband, he said, "Well, you can have my semen." And they came to an agreement that actually happened multiple times. Then this latest one that you were referring to, when she told him she was pregnant, he said, "Well, that's great. And do you know anybody else who would be interested? Because we have to build up this legion state." I think that's not a verbatim quote, but like as if he wants to build up his own tribe for the Armageddon that's coming. It's some kind of dark fantasy that he has on top of, while at the same time wanting to take the whole humankind to Mars and other planets. And it's a weird mix of philosophy,
creating the capital of Mars is like a Musk outpost eventually. It's it's strange, isn't it? This kind of, I mean, it's the language and it seems like the ideology of times gone by, you know, this kind of frontierism, or like to talk about the kind of SpaceX side of it and colonizing Mars and things, and then how his personal life kind of blends in with that of like, well, I'm going to have my own population of Musks to bring on the rockets with me. Just finally, you say in the book that the question is Musk a madman, an eccentric, or the greatest genius of our time? What did you land on?
All three, really. I mean, I would never dispute that he's a genius. I mean, look at his work. That who in the Western world, at least, there are Chinese car companies, new ones, but in the last 5, 6 decades, who has built a successful car company? There's only one. And who has put or taken out back? Who has spaceships, his own spaceships in space? Who's able to bring home the astronauts that NASA cannot bring home? And when Vladimir Zelensky wants his army to see where the Russian army is, he has to call Elon Musk. I mean, when Zelensky congratulated Trump on his winning the election, after a couple of minutes, he said, "Is Elon there too?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he was there, and Trump took the phone. Here, Elon,
Yeah.
and then they had a conversation. So there's the genius part, but I mean, madman. When he tells you that if Kamala Harris wins, that's the end of civilization. That's a direct quote.
Mm.
And that's because he thinks the Democrats are slowing down his Mars missions too much, and something may happen here on Earth too soon for him to be ready to take us away. And I don't know, if you're really friendly to him, you say, okay, we'll give you that one. But he also says if Alice Weidel, the far-right extremist party boss of the AfD in Germany, if she doesn't become president in Germany, that's also the end of civilization. So, I mean, how does that relate? It's like he wants to tell a joke. He says, that's the only way to go for Germany. It's really important for Germany. And then he says, it's really important for Europe. And we have this on tape. It's really important for the world, really for civilization. It's really how they tell a joke. You always
embellish.
What can you say? I mean, and he's this transhuman ideas that he wants to make us all, he says we have to put chips in our brains. I'm paraphrasing, to compete with what's coming. The AI, the cyborgs are coming. So if you want to be able to keep up, that's the way to go. It's a wild mix of things there. Then you have this long-termism. I think that's maybe another book or another discussion. But he's completely satisfied in his belief that he's the one who can get us there, and he's the best solution for mankind. I think he's believing himself. There's quotes of him saying, superhero, these superheroes, they look funny, but they really want to make the world a better place. They really want to do that. And you can see as if you think, and so do I.
I wonder if an aspect of that is if you take a ketamine using gamer and give him $300 billion, how many of them would not end up like Elon Musk?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to understand. We have this quote when he's asked about his drug use, and he's not even asked. He just tweets this. He says, "There are dark days. Some days are really hard, and then video games are my strange solace.
Mm.
The guy has, I mean, I have 3 children. No, I'm not anywhere near Elon Musk.
Yeah, you need
But-
to get those numbers up, Sönke.
But I mean, if I do feel bad, I mean, if you have a child, all you need to do is pick him up, pick her up, and give her a hug, and then go buy ice cream and look at the shining face. I mean, that it's a cheap thrill. Don't buy too much ice cream. But I mean, if you have, like you say, $300 billion and 14 children and all the means in the world, why do you need a solace? And why is that video gaming?
Mm.
And then on top of that, he claims that he's the best video gamer or one of the top 10 or what video games for this game, that game. And then riling up the whole video gaming community by obviously not really playing himself, at least all the time with the
We've
particular
found out a
games.
couple of times, hasn't he, that he's been paying people to play for him.
He will dispute that and attack anybody who says that. But I mean, to become a top 10 level player and basically any of these games, you have to spend thousands of hours on that game. And you tell me how that is possible if you're running Tesla, running SpaceX, running Doge and cutting the deficit and whatever else he's doing.
Mm-hmm. There's something seedy afoot with the gaming, at least, anyway. Sönke Iwersen, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.